Okay, so our new lesson is going to be 10-5, and it's something called factoring. Okay, so we're going to learn a few different methods for factoring, and this is the first method, and it's called the GCF method. Okay, so we're going to be factoring using the GCF method. When you think of factoring, I want you to think of it as undoing the distributive property. So you'll see an example here where I have parentheses, which we know means distributing. So if I take this and I distribute, I will get this. This will be my answer. This is what we just learned in the previous lesson, so that's my answer. What we did is we did distributive property, we multiplied it, and we got this answer. Now, the new lesson, which is factoring, is going the opposite way. So you're going to be given this one right here, right? You're going to be given this, and then you are going to have to turn it into this. It's going to look like this. So you're just going backwards. So we're doing the exact same thing, we're just going backwards. And to do that, we need to find the GCF, okay? Greatest common factor. So I have an example here on another board. Let me get it out here. Okay, so I'm going to show you two different ways, because there are two different ways to do it. Alright, so the first way. I need to find the GCF between these two. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little list. So I got, 15 and 25. So I'm going to list my multiples here. So we got, for 15, I got 1, 5, and 15. For 25, I have 1, 5, 25. So the numbers that can divide into it. So you got to think, okay, what's the biggest number that they have in common? It's going to be 5. Okay, now look at their x's. 15 has 1x, and 25 has 2. How many do they both have in common? Well, do they both have 1? Yes, they do. Do they both have 2? No. So they only have 1x in common. So the GCF is going to be 5x, because that's what they both have in common. They both have a 5 in common, they both have an x in common, so the GCF is 5x. Now that's the first step, that's step number 1. Now what you're going to do is you're going to pull that out. So you're going to put 5x on the outside. Then we have to figure out what goes on the inside. That's on the outside because that's our GCF. How you do that is you divide each one by the 5x. So I'm going to divide this one by 5x, and then I'm going to divide this one by 5x. I'll just leave that there. Divide that by 5x. Or I'll rewrite it. Okay, so let's do this one. 15 divided by 5, 3. And then hopefully you guys remember what happens to these x's. That's Miss M's favorite thing to do. Right? Gone. So I'm just left with 3 only. Then I'm going to add a plus sign, because there's a plus sign. What's 25 divided by 5? 5. And hopefully you remember this here. If I have a 2 on the top, remember what I do when I'm dividing. I don't add the exponents, but I subtract. So 2 minus 1 is x. This is your answer. This is called factoring. Factoring, okay? So going from here to here, this is called factoring. Okay, factoring. Now this is the more, it takes more time to do it that way, but this is like the proper way to do it. Now if you think that's really easy, so the people that are like, okay, that seems pretty simple, here's how you can do it without all those steps. You always have to find the GCF. So we already did the GCF, we know it's 5x. We already did that in the last one, so we don't have to do it again. 5x goes on the outside. So you should know that what you're going to be doing is distributing. So think about it, 5 times what is going to give you 15? 5 times 3. And then I have an x here and I have an x here, so I don't need 1 there, right? I wouldn't put anything here, because I know 5x times 3 is 15x. So we're good there. Write a plus sign. 5 times what gives you 25? 5 times 5. And if I have an x here, x times what will give you x squared? X times x. Did we get the same answer as above? Yes, we did. So this is just a quicker, easier way to do it. Both of them are factoring. Just whichever way you think is easier, you can do it that way. It doesn't matter which way you choose, you'll get the same answer every time. How do I know if it's right? Well, let's distribute. 5x times 3, 15x. 5x times 5x, 25x squared. Did we get our original? Yes, we did. So that's how you can check it. So factoring is just going backwards. So instead of distributing, you're going backwards. That is called factoring. Factoring. There we go. Okay, I'm going to show one more example, and it's a little bit more of an advanced example here. Okay. All right, so my last example is going to be more of a tough one. Okay. It's going to be 12xy plus 24 xy squared minus 30x squared y to the fourth. Now we got a lot going on here. So, all right, the first step, like I said, always the first step is to find the GCF. So we got 12, 24, and 30. So I'm going to look at 12, 24, and 30. What numbers go into 12? Well, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Actually, I'm going to make this bigger. 12, 24, and 30. Okay, for 12, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. And then, okay, and then 24, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 12, and 24. And for 30, I can divide it by 1, I can divide it by 2, I can divide it by 3, I can divide by 5, I can divide by 6, I can divide by 10, I can divide by 15, and 30. Okay, so what's the biggest number they have in common? That's the GCF, greatest common factor. So the greatest number they have in common is going to be, let's see. Oh, I forgot one here, 6. That's 6 there, okay. Let's see, 12 can go in these two, but not over here. So the next biggest one would be 6. So they all have 6 in common. 6. So I know my GCF is going to be 6. Now let's look at the variables here. So for 12, I've got an x and I've got a y. For 24, I have an x and 2 y's. And for this one here, 30, I've got 2 x's and 4 y's. Okay, so what do they all have in common? Well, they all have an x in common. So that's, I'm going to circle that. They all have a y in common. But they all three have nothing else in common. So they only have the 6 in common, they only have an x in common, and they only have a y in common. So I know that my GCF is going to be 6xy. That's my GCF. So now I just got to figure out what goes on in the inside. All right, so I'm going to show you the easy way because it's easier. All right, so I'm going to be distributing. So 6 times what will give you 12? 6 times 2. So I'm going to put 2 right there. Okay? Now look at this. I have an x and a y, and I have an x and a y. So we don't need anything. We're good. Let's write a plus sign. Plus. All right. 6 times what gives you 24? 6 times 4 is 24. Okay? I have an x here and x here. I'm good with the x's. I have 1 y here, but I need 2. So if I have 1, but I need 2, I'm going to add 1 right here. Minus 6 times what gives you 30? 6 times 5. I have 1x here and I have 2. So if I have 1 and I need 2, I'll need to write 1. I have 1y here and I need 4. So if I have 1 but I need 4, I need to write 3. And that is your answer. Oh. And that is factoring. Okay?